Yay. Hello, Meg. How are you today?
Hi, Leslie. I'm good. So excited for today.
Same. Very, very excited as folks are joining us on this LinkedIn Live or YouTube Live, wherever you are at. Super excited to dig into the Sales Leaders 2025 Toolkit. So we are going to walk through research, exactly how to do it, how to prepare, what you need to find. That's going to be some of that sort of like top of funnel, middle funnel stuff, and then we're really I think going to get the meatiest stuff around that middle of funnel. What research should we be doing? How can we prepare it in a way to create proposals that our prospects cannot say no to? And that is going to drive some incredible results. So I'm super, super excited for this conversation. For folks that are not familiar with me, hi, hello, thank you for joining. My name is Leslie Venetz. I'm the founder of the Sales-Led Go-to-Market Agency. And I'm super excited to be joined by Meg Hall. Meg, you and I have been working together for how long now? Like over a year already, right?
Yeah, I think it's been close to that. So
Yeah, super exciting. So I've been doing some GTM advising work for you. You were one of the amazing clients that so kindly nominated me for the GTM Advisor of the Year award, where I was a top 4 global finalist. So thank you for that. Love the work we've been doing together, and I think people will get a little bit of a glimpse into what you have been bringing to life with SalesPlay X, but beyond that, like even if they do not have access to, to the platform, some really specific ways that they can improve their research, improve their proposals, and get results, maybe even before the end of the quarter. But before we dive in, tell the folks about yourself.
my name is Meg Hall. I am the CEO and founder of SalesPlay X, which is an online platform for AI account research and personalized sales documents. And a little bit about me. This is my second tech company, tech startup. I built another company called Party Spark to profitability and sold it back in 2012. Then I moved up to the Bay Area, got my executive MBA, and started working for Oracle, where I was quickly promoted to planning and executing on their largest global sales play. So hence the name, my platform is SalesPlay. And so I was really focused on how do you create a repeatable sales motion where you can turn, all of your reps into your best rep. And so how do you create a sales go-to-market motion that is highly scalable? And so that's what I was working on at Oracle, where I ran their Exadata go-to-market, which brought in over $200 million a year. And then I went over to Coupa, where I ran their vertical and industries go-to-market for the last 6 years. And then I added on segment marketing, which would be like corporate, mid-market, and enterprise. And so I've really, over the last decade, thought a lot about how do you personalize the sales cycle to each prospect to make sure that you're speaking their industry vernacular. And that's really where the idea for SalesPlay came about. Is I realized at my last company, there was 26,000 combinations of industry, persona, region. And so that's where the X comes from, there's just so many infinite combinations. And I needed a way for there to simplify down to what do you say to each individual prospect.
I love that. And those are the topics that we first bonded on. I know we were like going back and forth on LinkedIn and we were talking about the importance of relevance over like random personalization because that does not drive results. And we were talking about repeatability and how you don't actually have a process if it is not repeatable. So yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I hinted, not that everybody isn't already aware, but folks, we have like days left in Q4 in 2024 as a year. Like it's crunch time, right? I think it's crunch time. Individual reps are feeling it. Certainly their leaders are feeling it. They want to get their reps to quota. They want to hit quota as well. I think that there is still time left. We're close, but it's not the end of the year yet. I think that there is still time left for folks to get some deals across the line by just amping up their approach to be slightly more relevant, more strategic. I'm seeing you nod. So I feel like you, yeah, okay. I feel like you're agreeing with me. I love it. like maybe just start, Meg, like what is your take on the most impactful ways that sales leaders or even reps can make the most of these last few weeks of Q4?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Q4 and especially December is the tale of two teams, right? You have some sales reps who are trying to close deals, right? You only have 3 weeks left to close these deals. And by now, you really have to have that deal out like close to the finish line if you have any hope of it closing this year, right? And being able to hit your quota. And so for those reps who have a deal that's close to the end of the to the line, what you really want to do is you want to be thinking through how can you de-risk that project and how can you empower your internal stakeholders to be able to do internal selling, right? So that means that you want to be able to give them, an IT guide that can be able to de-risk the project for IT. You want to have a business case that can be able to de-risk the project from finance and procurement saying no on that project. And so that kind of content you really want to be able to create so that way you're empowering that champion to go around their company and be able to ask for the budget to get that deal approved and for it to be in their 2025 planning.
Yes. And two thoughts came up when you were sharing that. One is that I don't think that the average rep understands like how much social capital we are asking our buyers, especially if they're not like the financial executive decision maker, if they're like our champion. I do not think that folks realize how much social capital we are asking them to expend to help us get this deal done, right? Like it's what we are asking them to do is a big lift. Like even if they see the value, even if they want to buy, even if they have the budget, there still is a bit of that like fear of messing up. They're still asking for other people's time and attention and buy-in. So I'm just going to set the stage right there that like the stakes are high for our buyer, which means that it is so critical that we as sellers empower them, that we are not asking them to like go and just sell for us. We are giving them the business cases and the research and the reasons to empower that. So I love that. So you were talking about de-risking deals.
Mm-hmm.
What types of like assets or what types of strategies have you seen like work best for helping folks de-risk deals and get them across the line?
I think deal rooms is a great option. So having a deal room pulled up and then also having content that's in your prospects brand with their logo and it's speaking their industry vernacular. And it's really pulling out what is the specific use case and then backing it up with a business case and then backing it up with customer stories to show that you've been successful in the past. Those are the kind of things, if you can give them exactly what they need on a silver platter where they're not having to search through a million emails and it's not up to your champion to create the deck and to create the materials to ask for the budget. The more you can empower your champion with those kind of materials is the best way to be able to set them up for success. And there's recent studies that say that for the average B2B enterprise sales cycle, there's a total of, I think it's 7 decision makers involved in the deal deal. So you think about you're asking your champion to go to 7 different people and get a yes. And some of them are going to be IT, some of them are going to be legal, some of them are going to be finance, probably their direct boss. And so how do you empower your champion to look good and feel confident asking for that sale? Because those people are not sales reps. And so they often haven't done this in the past. So how do we make them look good?
I love that. The idea both of like removing the friction, making it easy or as easy as possible for them to help us get the sale done. Something that you said that I absolutely love is to put their logo on stuff. This is such a simple but important hack. Like one of my favorite things that I do when I'm sending proposals is that I try to uncover what their like bigger strategic initiatives are. Or like right now I'm sending out proposals for SCOs. So like what the theme of their SCO is. So like I sent one yesterday and it was fuel, focus, finish first. And so I align everything else I'm doing to match their theme.
I love that.
Just those little things though, like they open it and they see their language.
Yep.
they see their logo. I mean, when I have people do that for me, it makes me feel really seen, really heard. Like I just think that that is such an incredible tip.
And it's also, how do you move from being a seller to being their partner so that they see you as an equal? And if you're actually coming to the, the meetings with real tangible value and taking the work off their plate, they're more likely to go ask for that budget. But our platform has actually built the entire process where we can pull in their logo. We can actually pull in their brand colors as well. And then using AI, we can personalize sales decks, proposals, value cases, really any type of process or any type of like motion where you're creating a whole lot of documents for every single customer. We can automate all of that. And I really haven't seen any other platform have the ability to automate videos and the wide scope of different document types that we can. And these are beautiful documents that we're able to create. So
I can vouch for that. I've seen them. They are beautiful documents. It's so true. This is like a bit of a tangent, but like one of the things that I think is so powerful about SalesPlay X is that there's a lot of like hubbub about AI and using AI and people should use AI. And it was like, I think the Salesforce State of Sales report that said something like 80% of sellers are using AI. And I just sort of wanted to call BS because I talk to hundreds, if not like thousands of sellers every year. And most of them are using automation, right? Like they're using like a calendar link maybe, or like they're using the basic automation, but they are very few sellers I know are tapping into the types of tools that completely change both their ability to uncover relevant information quickly and accurately, and that can like one click really like format that into documents that are buyer centric, not seller centric. And it frustrates me when I see reps doing this manually, because it's like in the same breath, they're also bitching about how like 35% of sales reps' time is spent on admin and like low value work. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe just use the tools available. Please stop doing that. So that's like a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of a rant, because I do spend a tremendous amount of time talking and thinking about AI and talking and thinking about sales tech. But let me ask you this. Like when it comes to relevant information, because we kind of like at the beginning of the call talked about like relevant v personalization. And I think that's something reps really, really struggle with still, because I don't ever need somebody to like start an email or start a call by saying like, oh, hi, I see you're the founder of the Sales-Led Go-to-Market Agency. Like, what is relevant information? Where do they find it? And then how do they use it?
Yeah. So going back to your rant, I would say that my biggest pet peeve is that when people hear AI for sales, they assume that our option is that we are spamming a bunch of people, right? You get all these emails that are like, I'm going to send 1,000 personalized emails on your behalf. And this is, I can talk about this for hours, but it really is terrible because it's giving the sales tech space and sales reps a really bad reputation. And then on the other hand, Google is also increasing their thresholds for spam scores. So it's really creating a big problem. But going back to your question about like what can sales reps do and how can they better utilize AI? So our platform, which we have a new free tool that's for AI account research, actually can help them. And it's free. I think Sweta put a link in the chat box. You guys can go to that and you can do that deep account research. But let's just talk about like, if you didn't want to use our tool, what would you want to be researching in order to be able to not be spammy, right? And then also this this is also the same kind of research that you need to do in order to create a relevant business case. And so I think this is also how, if you don't have Q4 opportunities closing in the next 2 weeks, how can you leverage this downtime in order to be able to set yourself up for success in 2025. And the best way to set yourself up for success is to be doing this deep account research. So let's chat about what deep account research actually means, right? So there's a lot of things you can be researching if you have your list of, what your territory plan is for 2025. You probably want to look at, what are the top 10 to 15 accounts that you are worthwhile you doing this deep account research. And so you want to be looking at their news, right? Try to figure out.
One question, quick, Meg.
Yeah, of course.
When we think about the type of rep or like the type of deal size that this approach is most appropriate for, is this like 20K, like who should be thinking about this approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, enterprise sales that are 6 figures plus, really. Okay. And, anybody who has an ABM account, those are the types of deals that this is the most valuable for, because if it is a low dollar deal, right, and it's a low lift and it's easy to implement and it's a low cost, then you can find somebody at the right opportune time, and you can basically convince them that this is what they need, right? It's a nice to have. But if you're trying to sell something that's 6 figures or 7 figures or even 8 figures, then you need to really have a strong business case, and you're going to have to be really trying to find multiple ways to break into that company. And it needs to be led by an actual pain point they have with actual budget, because you can't just convince somebody to spend $1 million on doing somebody else a favor. Right? Okay. It needs to have a legitimate business case.
So pretty much anybody that has a quota that's at least $1 million in 2025 needs to be thinking about how they can incorporate an approach like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And then also the other use case I would say is if you have a complicated product that you're trying to sell, right? There's some products that are very obvious on face value and people know that they need. But then there's other products where, it's, personalized communications, or it's automating this, right? And it's like you have to find let's say a tool that automates 2 of your systems. You have to figure out what 2 systems they have in order to be able to lead with a relevant use case, because if people, you have 15 seconds to catch their attention and for them to see a use case for them to use it, right? And so by doing deep account research, you can articulate that specific use case. So if it's either a product that's high dollar or if it's hard to sell, those are the 2 use cases I think that you really need to do deep account research.
Okay, super helpful.
Cool. So let's get into what kind of account research you would do, right? So the first one I would say is just looking at their news, right? Listening to their financials to try to see what are they investing in 2025? What are they saying their initiatives are? And what products are they pushing? Also, you might want to look at what job roles are they hiring for to see where they're currently investing in, right? Because you want to tie your project to the internally hot project and internally hot initiatives that would be most likely to get approved. And then, I'd also love to hear from people on the live, what they're seeing and what they're researching as well. Some of the other things I like to look at is the customer sentiment, right? So I go to, if they have a physical storefront, I like to go to their Google Maps and try to see what are customers commenting. Look at Trustpilot, look at G2, try to figure out what are their customers complaining about, because the more you can try to tie your project to their customer retention or what customers are saying that they like, the more successful you're going to be. And then along that same lines, what are their employees saying? So look at their Glassdoor reviews. And even if you don't have something that's going to directly affect their employee happiness, it's still super enlightening to look at their Glassdoor reviews and see, are their employees happy? Just try to get an idea of what their buyer mindset is and what's going on internally in that organization. And you can also, from Glassdoor, you can kind of see how much of their buying power is centered on VP and above versus the lower levels. And so there's also some kind of hints you can find from looking at Glassdoor reviews.
Okay, I'm that is not the right screen, Leslie. I am kind of obsessed with the idea of going to their website to see what the customer sentiment is.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I didn't grow up in the SaaS space. I grew up very much selling business intelligence consulting, research. And so they that wasn't really a thing. And so that is not something I've ever incorporated into my pre-call prep. Generally, it was more like, what are the challenges their customers are facing versus like, what is the sentiment? So I love that. Like that is, I'm gonna use that.
I mean, it's really helpful when you get to the point where, a customer might or a prospect might be saying like, oh, now's not a good time. And you can actually pull up a direct quote from one of their customers complaining about that problem, right? That's when it really becomes super powerful, because it's like, oh, actually your customers see that this is an issue. Like this is affecting your sales. And so then it's not a sales rep trying to push something. It's like oh crap, there could be a fire. You could literally create like an internal fire in that company if you show them enough unhappy customer reviews.
That's so good. That is very hard to say no to. And it's also like I talk a lot about like sharing actionable insights or like sharing things that they genuinely might not be aware of. And one of my favorite ways to do that is like, like I talk to CROs all the time, probably more than most CROs talk to CROs. And so being able to say things like, yeah, like last month I talked to 20 CROs and the number one theme I heard all of them talk about was X. Or be like, yeah, I actually spent an hour looking through what your customers are talking about. And it looks like 70% of them mentioned this struggle. So 70% of your customers feel like this is a top priority. Like, can you help me understand how you're choosing to prioritize it? Like, it just opens up such a lovely way to be more curious, where they can't be like, this isn't important to me, because nobody's going to say what my customers want and believe is not important to me, or I hope not.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other thing that I think people should be researching is like right now, while you have this downtime, is what kind of technology are those companies using? Are they using your competitor? And then are they using any software that you integrate into, right? Because it's less of an ask if they're already, let's say, using Workday or Salesforce, and you integrate into their existing tech stack. It's de-risking the project for IT, but it also just kind of lowers the barrier to entry, because it sounds like it's less of a lift to that person. And then also your potential champion that you're talking to, they can see themselves using it, right? So looking to see if any of your technology partners are being used at that company is a really important thing. And some of the ways that you can look at this and you can find this information is obviously data brokers like SalesPlay, ZoomInfo, or things like that. But also you can look at their job postings and see if they are hiring for the role that you're reaching out to. Are they listing any certain technologies in that job posting?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Okay. So wait, let me see this question. It was like one of the hypotheticals that I feel like we always to like talk about in like sales communities or sales conversations is like, okay, you only have 10 minutes to prepare for a discovery call. Like, what are the 3 pieces of information you're going to get? And so it sounds like those are like the 3 areas that you're going to go to. But maybe just to reframe, like 5 years ago, when I did not have access to tools that could scrape this type of information, I would say that I generally spent 45 to 60 minutes preparing for every single one of my sales calls. And of that, like 80% of the time was just like finding the information I needed, which left like 20% of the time for me to look at the information and digest it and like try to connect the dots and develop a point of view. And so it seems to me that the role that SalesPlay X comes in isn't like replacing the need for people to prep. It's just replacing the need for them to like spend time digging up the information so that they can instead like take this really thoughtful strategic approach and show up with a point of view, right?
Yep. So we give them all that account research on a silver platter. And actually, fun fact, there was a time when we were actually building it to be a Google Calendar integration where we would look at your calendar and be able to see who are you meeting with this day and send you their profiles and their account research for all your upcoming meetings. Because like how often do you like have back-to-back meetings and you're like, crap, who's my next call with? And even if you know them, there might be a scenario where like you just don't have time to look at their latest news, their latest company news, right? So with our platform, everything's on a silver platter and you can literally just refresh it and it will pull any kind of more relevant information. And so within 5 minutes, you're able to get all this information at your fingertips. And it's also compiling questions they might ask you, discovery questions you should be asking them, proof of pain point in that company's organization. So a lot of really cool stuff.
Okay, and I see that there's a link that has been dropped in the chat. Tell me what this link does. What's the free AI account plan?
Yep. So our platform is already built to do this deep account research, and it also creates a thoughtful point of view and the first version of your sales presentation for you. And so we're opening that up to offer a free account plan for in the month of December for anybody who's listening to this. And so if you go to the link that Sweta put in the chat, you can go there and you just say who you want to go after. And then it will run, and then we'll give you access to the platform and like walk you through all the insights that it found on one of your target accounts. So you can say literally any company in the world that you're like, I work for this company and I want to go after this company, and it will give you that highly personalized insights.
Okay, love that. Let's go back to the concept of coming to calls with a clear point of view. Because I think we both agree that that is like the future of sales, right? Like it used to be enough 5 to 10 years ago to be like, I see that you're the VP of sales, or like in today's competitive landscape, I'm guessing that you care about revenue. Like that was enough to earn the right to people's time and attention just like a decade ago. And then it was like, I saw you went to blah, blah, blah college, like a little bit more personalization was required. But it was like, I see that you went to college anyway. Here's my completely unrelated widget. Buy it now. That doesn't work anymore.
No.
And I think today, showing that you've done your research works. I think tomorrow that will not be enough. You need to have done your research and you need to then use it to have a super clear point of view on the value that you bring to that specific prospect and organization. So tell me a little bit about your take on like what that might look like and how to create that.
Yeah. So all that account research that we just talked about, you should be pulling that into a thoughtful point of view on why does this business need you? And like, you know, it's so easy for all your customers to say that we help drive more revenue, right? Yeah. And it can't be, your point of view can't be at that high level. It really needs to get down to be more tactical and say the specific use cases of how you're going to help them. So, you know, what's the market pressure that's causing this pain? What is the pain point that the team is feeling? What or why does that business need you? And then specific examples of how you can help them. And once you've created this basically framework, right? This is your skeleton, and this is going to be used inside your PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be used in your one-pagers. And as the deal continues to evolve, your point of view should also continue to evolve, right? But there's really those 4 main areas, which is market pressure, pain point, why, and specific example. And those can be customer facing, but they're really putting into words the pain points of the business case, right? The actual use case. Yeah. And the specific example is, I think, the most important one, because the other stuff can be pretty high level, but the specific example needs to say, we help this persona integrate this technology, and it really needs to be, and it ideally should be tied to an initiative that they have going on in that company.
I love that. One of the things that I use as a tool when I am writing copy is this super old framework that was adjacent to like the AIDA framework, like the attention, interest, desire, action, I think is what it stands for. Who knows?
Yeah.
Called FABS. And like what I see in 85-90% of copy is that most people just like feature dump, right? Here are all of the things that we can do. Some reps, like maybe the top 25% of reps, get to the next step, which is like, here's our feature and here's the advantage of it. Like it is one click. It is the most sustainable. Like they say some sort of advantage about it, but like even that's kind of rare. Usually it's just like 7 bullet points of a feature done. Very, very few reps. Like I'm saying maybe 5% of the emails I get, and I get hundreds of inbound like emails plus LinkedIn DMs a week, maybe 5%, probably less, get to the benefit, which is like the why it matters to me. Like, I don't care what features you have. I don't care if they generally save people time and money. Like, I need you to connect the dots and show me that you understand what the end result benefit would be that matters to me. And it sounds like that's where you're going as well.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I think we've had these previous conversations where it's not about you, the sales rep, right? If you are talking about your company over and over and over again, you're doing a disservice and you're making it hard for a prospect to buy from you, even if they want to buy from you. You need to be talking about them. How is this going to affect their daily life? How is it going to make them, get credibility in the organization? How's it going to help their team be more efficient? And ultimately, how's it going to help that business bring in more revenue or save more dollars?
Oof, so good. Okay, so we have the right mindset. We have a buyer-centric mindset. We have our list of like 10 to 15 accounts. We are developing a point of view for each of those accounts on why it is worth their time to engage with us. What are we doing next?
Yeah. I mean, so at this point, you're probably feeling good and you're probably starting to jump into the next part is going to be looking at the prospects and who you should be reaching out to in that company. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the critical mistakes that a lot of sales reps do is you tell them to go do their account research. And what they do is they just go to a tool like Zoom Info or something like that. And they just grab a list of people and they're like, okay, I did my account research. I know who I'm going to reach out to. And they create a prospecting sequence and they say, I know what I'm going to say to them. But everything that we just said before this is so critical because this is the part that actually helps you stand out and stops you from being spam. I think we've made it too easy to just go find a list and spam that list. So instead, you need to find the list of people that you want to reach out to. And I typically like to look for, 2 to 3 people per each persona that you're going after. So ideally over 10 people at that account. And I'm going to take it to the next level where I actually like to create a point of view on why that person in their role can use your company. So the same way as we created a point of view for the business level, create a point of view at the sales or at the champion level of why would it help their role if they got your product. Right. And so this is the kind of research that you're actually going to pull into your prospecting emails so that way you're reaching out with relevancy and you're not just cold email blasting and spamming people.
Yeah. Like this is a tool that can help SDRs. This is not a tool for SDRs. Like this is a tool for enterprise reps that want to earn the right to the time, to the attention, to the consideration of their prospects. You said 2 things that I really loved there, Meg. One was sort of a callback to like where we started with how much social capital we're asking that champion to expend. And I think you said like 7 people on the buying committee. I've seen for enterprise deals, it go way higher than that, right? So like having that like person specific point of view, I think that's super powerful. And the other thing is that I was just looking at some new data because I was working on a session for multi-threading for one of my clients. And I don't remember if it was data from EBSTA or User Gems. I think it was EBSTA that for enterprise accounts, if you do not have at least 14 people multi-threaded, so like you don't have to be talking to them, but like 14 people that like know who you are, clicking on your emails, attending your webinars or responding to emails, whatever it is, anything less than 14 decreases the probability that you'll win that deal. 14 And I think the range was like 8 to 14 for like the mid-market to enterprise. But I've even seen data for like SMB that if you don't have at least 3 people engaged, actively multi-threaded, you are like you're going to be in trouble. And so I love the idea of being able to have that clear point of view. And that doesn't mean that you need to be meeting with every single one of these like 14 people, but you have some sort of valuable insight that you can share with them so that you are like building that credibility, you are building that awareness, and that is going to help ultimately shorten sales cycles and increase win rates. So it layers and it sort of has a bit of a domino effect if you start getting it right from top of funnel and then continue it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As Dean said, you need to have a reason to reach out to each of those people, and so the same way as, I was talking earlier about creating custom content. A lot of times I will create a custom one pager for each persona in each role. Like, how can the procurement team at XYZ company to provide more business impact, right? So I'll actually create custom documents just for the team and the persona. Or one of the cool things I've created with one company is we would find the call reports that banks are submitting, and we would literally create a risk report, right? And so this company we would generate a risk report from their call reports that are going out from banks. And this document, this risk report, would be hand delivered to the chief risk officer at that bank. Right. So
that is very next level.
Yeah. I love to create these like campaigns that are really, hand delivered, really personalized documents. Those are really where I thrive, and I just go crazy because I think it's just like a passion of mine to create like next level stealth, like ways to inject yourself into that company.
Yeah. I love that. That very much reminds me of like my dear friend Dale Dupree is very much about like, he has a lot of clients that will like still doorstep, still do a lot of in-person stuff. And some of the creative takes that he has, like, I just love them. Okay. But the first example, which let's be honest, that's probably more accessible to more of the people that are listening. My first thought, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but was like, oh my God, I don't have the time to do that. Like, oh my God, that's going to take too long. Like an individual document for each freaking department. Like, who has the time, Meg? Who has the time, Meg?
I mean, if you have a platform like SalesPlay, you have the time. And the good thing is with that free AI account plan, if you guys put in a name of a company you want to go after, we're already generating the very first one pager that's personalized for that prospect in the free AI account plan. So you'll get that right off the bat for free, like just from filling out the form.
In like 10 minutes, like how much time am I committing here?
I mean, well, the form takes you 30 seconds to fill out. It's just like, hey, I'm from this company.
Literally.
And I'm from this company. Yeah.
So like
yeah.
hypothetically, like I have a deal in my pipeline right now that I think can close in 2024, but I know I just need to give a little bit more value. Like I really need to be a bit more strategic. I could get a one pager for them in like a few minutes, or how would I use it?
Yeah, I think in order to be able to, you'll still get a one pager for them, but I think the one pagers that we give for free with the free AI account plan are more for top of funnel. Okay. I think to be able to close late stage deals, we have to actually have some implementation and create the proposal template and create the like IT template, right?
Let's move to that, like, because I know we were talking a lot about research proposal results. Let's talk about what's happening in the middle of the funnel, in the bottom of the funnel that gets our win rates up.
Yeah. So one of the things and the reasons why I created this platform is because a lot of companies have multiple products, multiple personas, multiple industries, and you need to be able to speak that industry vernacular and use relevant customer stories. So our marketing engine holds literally all of your customer stories, and we parse it out into sections, and we literally categorize them by persona and by industry. So whenever you're going after a prospect, it is literally reorganizing your customer stories from the most relevant to the least relevant. And then those are being pulled into your one pager. Those are being pulled into your PowerPoint presentations and your proposals. And what's cool is it can scale up and down so that way, if you're doing like, let's say your proposal is going to have a full customer story, or like let's say 3 lines of a customer story, versus your one pager, you might have just a quote, right? And so we can scale those up and down, and we can pull in the industry images and things like that. So it's pulling in those specific use cases, and then it's pulling in that AI point of view that we talked about, where it's the specifically, how can you help that company? That text is being pulled into the different documents, so that way you can have things that are, the one pager for just being attached, so that way your champion can ask and like propose this, down to your proposal, which is going to be attached to your pricing. And, then also you're going to have a separate version that's going to be for IT, right? If you can have partners set up where, if I integrate with this partner, pull in this text, this document, like messaging and this information for your IT documents. So really complex things that we can create.
It sounds complex, but not complicated, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot going on, but it's like, I mean, I've seen some of it, like you've screen shared and put me some of it. Like it feels very like beep boop, and then you get the thing, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes prep work in the beginning, but for the everyday sales rep, all you're doing is saying, generate the first draft of the proposal, right? Generate the first version of my slide deck. And what's great is it's already in Word documents and PowerPoint presentations, where let's say we get you 90% of the way there, the rep still has the autonomy to go there and to bring it home and, do that final edits that they want. But we're pulling in the image of that company. We're pulling in their brand logo. We're pulling in your information, right? So we put rep 1 and rep 2, like the rep that's leading the deal and their manager, on all these documents. So all that stuff, like just how much time have you spent in your life, in your career, literally pulling in your picture and typing your name into slides? Like, that's just all wasted time that we just automate.
No, like one of the biggest hacks when I left corporate to become a full-time founder, is that in year 1, because I didn't have all these decks created, because I didn't have a marketing or like an enablement team, and I was like building everything for the first time, and I realized that I was spending just an insane amount of time like rebuilding every single deck over and over again. And I literally hired a freelancer to like make easy, like drag and drop repeatable decks. And I'm not even kidding. I remember I did the math that year, and I think it saved me something like 87 hours. 87 hours.
Yeah.
And like, that's just from literally like making the decks, not even everything else. But the thing that I would definitely add would be memes. Like, I am a little bit unhinged, but I like love to add a good meme to a proposal. My favorites are the one with Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like pointing to the wall that looks insane. And then I also really like the like little girl who looks just very mischievous as a house burns behind her. I like to, are we frozen? Are you frozen? Am I talking to myself? Can anybody hear me? All right, folks, if you're joining, let me know if you can still hear me, but I don't think that I'm frozen. So I'm just going to keep chatting to you. Okay. And then the other meme that I love is the one that's the dog sitting in the house that's on fire. So I love to be able to do some last minute edits. Oh, it looks like you're back. I see your face moving again.
Yep. Sorry.
Good news, it was frozen in a like a good facial expression. I feel like every time I freeze, I'm like, and I look insane. Okay, so we are in the middle of the funnel. It's a bunch of one-click stuff. Let me ask you this, because when we think about like reducing the mental load or like the cognitive load for our buyers, I think that there is also a risk that we can give them too much stuff, right? Like we can like overwhelm them. So if we think about prioritizing the types of like documents or the types of information in our proposals or supportive stuff for our champion, like what are those things that reps should think about prioritizing, or like how can they uncover what's most important to share? Oh no, your face is frozen again. No. Well, folks? Oh, you're
Okay,
back.
I'm back. Okay, I
Yay.
think I heard, I'm going to try and let's see, hopefully it doesn't cut out on me. But you were talking about prioritizing content.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about how the buyer mindset has changed in the last couple years. You know, it's so easy.
No, our connection is terrible. Well, folks, we're going to see if Meg comes back to join us. But while you're waiting, maybe go pop into the free AI account research tab. Let me see if I can actually share it again. I think it's in this internal document with questions. But while we're seeing if we get connection back, maybe y'all can pop into this page and try it. Oh, hi. Okay, tell us about the middle of the funnel.
I don't know. I'm kind of scared to talk now.
Jump right in. Jump right into the hard-hitting content.
Okay. Well, my point is that, you know, in the consumer world, it has become so easy for consumers to buy, right? They're used to just going on Amazon and one click, you can be able to purchase anything, right? And so all of your buyers are people in real life, right? So they've been trained that it should be that easy to purchase, right? And so when you're asking them to jump through a whole bunch of hoops and you're trying to, a lot of sales reps like to safeguard, you can only get this information when you meet with me, right? And I think by doing that, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because people aren't going to jump through all the hoops for the sales rep, especially when your competitor is going to give you that content right there at their fingertips. And so I think that having access to giving them information is super important, and the way that we're selling needs to change. But then also, on the other hand, you know, I ran the HubSpot for 6 years for Coupa, and I think that by having a lot of content and you're sharing with them thousands of documents, that's not the best way either, because you're still putting the work on them to be able to find what they need and to be able to connect the dots and put everything together. And so I think that's part of why I created this company, is I wanted to be able to have a way that you can, instead of, you know, as marketing for those companies, you don't have to create 1,000 pieces of content. If you have one really good template, you can be able to create the exact document that customer needs and not make them go jumping through hoops, right? And it's going to help both save your sales team. They're going to be able to close more deals because they're going to be much more convincing. It's going to make your champion easier to buy, but then also your marketing team won't have to create as many documents and verticalized versions of content. So it's really there. I think there's going to be this revolution of personalized content first, and just getting rid of all those like verticalized versions of content, or one version for your persona, one master version, things like that.
I love that. I'm seeing a little bit of that already in the copy that I'm creating, that we are doing like deep segmentation, and that sort of like the entire idea of an ICP doesn't really work anymore because nobody has a ICP. Like that's just like, that's not a thing. You have many personas, but even within those personas, like if your persona is the finance executives at a CPG firm that is, you know, Fortune 1000 to 500, the CFO still needs a different message than the VP of finance because they care about different things. So I am, for like leading companies, I'm already seeing that transition. And I think that you're right, that some of those lagging companies will realize that like they're going to get left in the dust if they don't start making some of these changes. Okay, two things I want to do before we wrap. One, I want to talk like trends a little bit more.
Okay.
Right. We are talking about like 2025 results. It is the time for trends. But I also want to hear your take on like bottom of funnel, because that's where a lot of folks are. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you. I'm sending out all my good juju to you that like we are getting deals across the line right now. Like we are doing those final steps to negotiate the opportunity to like make quota, not make quota, hit accelerator. What are those like, what should we be putting in our proposals, or like what changes should we, I don't know. Tell me what your take is on bottom of funnel actions.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched on this already, but I think the point is by now, we only have 3 weeks left in the year, right? And if you have any hope of being able to push your deals across the line, you probably have already negotiated that deal, right? You've probably already sent over your proposals. And so now you are in that don't let your deals slip phase, right? So sales, legal, IT, and procurement, don't let them slip, right? So if you think about for each of those buyer personas, how can you de-risk the project? It's by creating late stage deal materials that have very clearly how you're going to help that business win, how you're going to be able to affect their next year, and then being able to say, here's customer examples and here's de-risking the IT investment and the legal investment. So I think it's about having those late stage deal materials prepped and ready and sending those out to them so that way, any deal can be killed with one no. So having good sales materials that can be able to empower your champion to push back when they get a no is what you really need to be able to get to yes.
Yeah, very strategic, like well prepared. Something you said earlier in our conversation too was like making sure that your point of view evolves. So maybe even a little bit of a sense check, like, have I continued to do this process of discovery to make sure that I am not assuming that they have what they need, that I'm really like being strategic about ensuring and like being proactive about getting them what they need, making it as easy for them to buy as possible. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I think you're frozen, but hopefully you're going to come back because I want to talk like just for 2 seconds about 2025 trends, or it doesn't necessarily have to be 2025 trends, but like what are the big things that are going to get us results in 2025? So I'm going to see if you come back. Folks, I don't know if you know this about Meg, but she lives in Hawaii. And oh, she's back. I was talking about how you live in Hawaii, and I don't know if it's Hawaii's fault.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We were talking about like 2025 trends, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like trends, but like what are the biggest things that are going to get folks results in 2025? I know you're frozen again. No. Oh, you're back.
Okay, 2025 trends. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, the number one thing is AI bots have flooded the market. So you really need to be multi-threaded when it comes to your outreach. You cannot, a lot of sales reps think that the only way to be able to prospect is to enroll somebody in an email blast, email sequence, and just let it go. That is not you cannot rely on outbound email only, because AI bots have flooded the market and people are not responding to cold emails the same way as they used to. So you really have to not be afraid to pick up.
Oh, I can finish that thought. Not be able to pick up the phone, because I say that all the time. Like when I think about multi-threading, I think about multi-threading, multi-channel, and then layering within the channel. So like making sure that you are reaching out to multiple people for different reasons, because you don't want to meet with all of them. Like you have that unique point of view, something relevant that you're sharing with them to get engagement, to like build awareness, to like show that you have relevance. And then multi-channel. Oh, you're back. Okay. I was saying pick up the phone. And I was also saying like one of my favorite things or trends that I think for 2025 is not just multi-channel, but like layered multi-channel. So if you're using the phone, don't just make cold calls, have a strategic approach to how you're leaving voicemails, have those voicemails tie to other channels. Like think about doing voice notes, think about doing text messages. Like what are the things that the other sales reps aren't taking the time to do that show that you are really putting in the work? So back to you.
Yes. Yep, I think that those are all of the above are correct. So multiple channels, multiple types of ways to reach out, and then also multiple personas. So you should be able to think through, for this team, I'm going to be able to help them accomplish this, and for this team, I'm going to help them accomplish this. So try to go after multiple teams, multiple personas, and multiple channels. And then also, as you're continuing to have once those, hopefully that prospecting turns into real opportunities, you should take that same approach. You should try to, I've heard that you want to try to actually like get your champions to be texting with you, get them to join you on Slack, try to have multiple champions and multiple ways that they're engaging with you, just to be able to further deepen the roots in that account.
Really good advice.
And then AI and automation are becoming indispensable.
I was going to say, can we get that link one more time as well for anybody that hasn't already grabbed it, that wants to take advantage of that free AI account research? We're going to wrap up. Hopefully Meg will be able to join us again from the great state of Hawaii before we go. But really appreciate all of you for joining us. I'm on TikTok over here. You can't see it, but we are TikTok live. We are YouTube live. We are LinkedIn live. And so I appreciate all of you showing up to talk through research, because it is so freaking important, folks, that we are doing the research that earns the right to make the ask for the time, the attention, the consideration, the business, how to send proposals that convert prospects, and some of those key techniques that Meg showed to get the results. Anything else to share, Meg, before we say goodbye for the day?
No, I really appreciate it. Sweta put the link in the chat box. So if you guys want to try out that free AI account plan, we will send you guys over a free AI account plan, and hopefully you guys can give it a try, and please give us feedback. We're a small startup of only 4 people, so any kind of feedback is really appreciated.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Happy holidays.